Hi there, friends. Welcome to the No Small Stories podcast, where we explore paths less traveled with creatives and entrepreneurs from all walks of life and in all stages of their journey. No matter how small you start, your story is always a big deal to us. So let's dive into today's episode and meet our guest. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of the No Small Stories podcast. I am here today joined with Lindsay McDuffie, who I'm so excited I've met. Just such a fun, happy personality already. Hello, and thank you for joining me.
Hi.
So Lindsay is a writer, and we have determined a creative English major extraordinaire, which I enjoy. So I want to start with, what brought you into writing? I'm a writer myself, and so what was it that started you on writing is the thing that I want to do?
Well, as a kid, I was always very fascinated with books that held all this knowledge and incredible meaning, and they wrote sentences that blew my mind all the time. And I wanted to be in that space with that type of influence and really just helping people understand life. Because I got so much out of the books I've read. And as a kid, I actually was a big dancer and ballet and tap and jazz and all the good stuff.
Very cool, very fun. I dig it. So,
yeah,
creative movement, right?
exactly.
Is that important for writers, I think, a little bit, because there's a sort of stuck energy you can sometimes get when you're sat down writing a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
And really the idea of choreography as a whole, where you get to essentially write a dance, figure out where the movement matches the music, and low points, high points, how to surprise the audience. So I think they kind of go hand in hand. And I've actually since learned or have been learning how to play drums, which is kind of the same idea, where you choreograph all of your limbs together. But yeah, the idea is to make a cohesive whole out of dissimilar parts. And I think
I really like that, sort of like an orchestration, right?
Yes.
And it fits into writing and dance and music, right? It's that creative element again, bringing together disparate parts into something that is cohesive.
Exactly. Creating meaning out of the meaningless, right?
I love it.
And that's what brought me to it. That's what I'm so endlessly fascinated by. But we can't just read books all day and fantasize. We have to actually make money. So that has been my life.
Adulting things, right?
Them bills keep coming. So we got to figure it out. Yep.
So the writing element, can you tell me, when you were younger then, what were some of the books that like blew you away, or some of the things that you really attached? Because you're saying, these sentences that, connect with you.
Yes.
What were some of the things that you really connected with as a kid when you were reading?
So when I was in about middle school, I came across poets. Walt Whitman, everybody loves them. And then the Walden guy, Emerson.
Emerson, and you got to do, you got to get your, I just lost the name now again, but there's all those class. You got Sylvia
Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe was such a big one for me.
100%. And so you read the classics, and then your friends start bringing books by like Chuck Palahniuk around, and Kurt Vonnegut, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like funny, hilarious, and incredible. It's nothing like the 17th century sonnets I've been reading, here.
Right, very different flavor.
Right. Yeah. So you're like, oh, okay. So this is like modern literature. Super cool. So even seeing that evolution with writing and writers and authors was really, really fascinating for me. And so writing, I really just started with the notebooks you get from the bookstore, and you fill them with very corny, very cheesy poems. You get different colors.
This is why you and I connected, because I absolutely did that from like when I was a kid on up too, right? You start with the Lisa Frank notebooks and the gel pens, and you're just kind of like writing silly things, and it's a journal. And then you go into the poetry, and angsty teen you gets a little bit more of the notebooks that are a little more,
yes, you go on
sort of flavored.
Exactly, exactly. And then you're like, oh wow, I put these cool ideas together. Maybe I should just go to school for this, you know?
Yeah, I love it. And so you did. And so we go to school
Mhm.
for the English, and then we been able to make it fun? You seem to have so many different capacities in which you use this writing skill. So go ahead and take us through that journey a little bit further then.
Yeah, definitely. So I went to school for professional writing and public discourse. That was the English degree that I got.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been able to carry that into about 7 different jobs where I've used that degree. Um,
Lucky seven. I love it.
I know, right? And we all know and love AI and Chat GPT. And so that came around as I got my dream job in copywriting last year. And
Love this.
it was great. I learned how to use it. I learned how to train AI robots and I taught my team and then I got laid off. So
Because the universe was like, hey, time for you to do something else with these skills.
exactly, exactly. So and now I have another job that's going really well. So the 7 jobs that I've had, and I'll just run through these lists and then we'll expound on them later.
Go for it. And I
Um,
have to come back to the AI too, because that's one that fascinates me.
Definitely, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I did editing for print, a print publication. I was the editor, and then corporate communications and PR, then music promotions, which was
Very
super
cool.
fun.
I was gonna say, I bet that was a lot of fun.
The best time of my life. And then instructional design, which was very fascinating also. E-commerce,
Which is a
then
big deal. Every who isn't trying to get into drop shipping, and I've got my own merch ideas coming out my ears too. I know what it is.
exactly, exactly. And that, if you're a good editor, e-commerce is great because it's all about the brand image,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily the voice. So, very fun e-commerce is. And then copywriting I did, and then now I'm in SEO, search engine optimization. And that is an extension of what I learned during copywriting. So, right, you kind of keep your ears and eyes open while you're in these jobs and figure out what everyone else is doing. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can kind of carry those beginner skills into the next job. So that's kind of what I've been able to do with each one of these. And of course, it's all about the people you meet and the community you live in. So yeah, those are the main things I'm gonna share today.
Well, I really like this, that the things that you've gotten into are maybe not necessarily things that obviously when you started out writing you would have thought you would get into necessarily,
Exactly.
right? But that
Mm-hmm.
you can use the skills that you pick up as you go to sort of integrate into the next new thing and kind of keep expanding into something else,
And
right?
that's the thing is finding the environment in which you can work. And so you have to create that world around you and figure out the spaces where you can contribute, where you can learn and grow, and where you feel like you belong. And then you can start kind of creating the art that's inside of you, right? You have to find that stable base and then you have to extend into the world once you find it. So yeah, I never thought I would have these types of jobs, but it's just, again, you start where you're at and then just kind of feel your way in the dark until you find something that works for you.
I really love that approach, and that I feel like in a lot of ways that's a space that I am continuously finding myself in. Yeah,
Yes.
right? Like it's the constant evolution, and it's a fun sort of it. So maybe we can kind of draw a little bit into the AI conversation and like the Chat GPT and all the AI imagery things that are out there. I know that there's a certain element for a lot of folks of being resistant to AI,
Mhm.
the idea that it's sort of, making things obsolete, that humans want to keep human flavored again, to if you will.
Yeah.
But so what are some of your perspectives on that? Because I tend to see it as a tool, right? That it's something valuable. It's like another brush in the artist's, kit for you to use, for you to utilize. It's just another thing
Mhm.
available to help you create. But what's some of your perspective, having worked in that industry and with AI, on how do you sort of leverage it to your advantage as a writer?
Yeah, it's very interesting because as a writer, you'd think I would hate it. But when it came
Right.
around, I was the most excited in my department at work. And so I actually got tapped from our CEO to be on like the AI task force where we would all just
Very
dig in
cool.
and figure out how we can use this. And so I was all about it from the start. I loved it. And I actually wrote the prompt that enabled our website, or one of the brands I worked for their website to become profit producing. And so we had
Very nice.
hundreds of thousands of products that didn't have descriptions. So I wrote one prompt that we fed into the AI, and then IT fed it through some magic spreadsheet thing to where it would auto-populate thousands of product descriptions at once.
I need some more information on that, because that's something that even as someone who is in this kind of like entrepreneurial, trying to do my own thing sort of space while I, balancing the 9 to 5 and the what I'm trying to do, like that is one thing that slows me down when it comes to things like all these ideas I have for t-shirts and merch and things like that, is like branding it and doing the like listing it all out on, whether you do Etsy or Redbubble or whatever you're doing.
Yep.
And this is a question that I have actually been asking other people. How do I get AI to help me make that faster, make that process less, cumbersome for me? So we might have to just talk about how you do that, because that is so cool.
Yeah, and that was definitely, the flowers need to go to IT, because they figured out that equation. But if you only have a few products,
you got to get that stuff working together, though. If you didn't have that creative idea and that, hey, I'll do this and you bring this part of it in because you're good at this, that's how the synergy happens, right? Bring it together and then it can grow into something really cool and really useful.
100%. Yeah. And even just having a base, so you can train your AI bot, you give it a name, you tell it its position, you feed it information to learn from, and then that's your personality that you go to. So when I was a copywriter, I built all these different personalities that I would go to. And they were like my own little team of writers.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating how I was able to build that up, and I got them sounding really good. And so I thought my job was secure, because I was able to do all that back end work and we would get the final product quickly. But I think and I don't know the reasons exactly why I was laid off, but they kind of determined that it's very simple to do this all on, just extra time that you have. You don't need one person figuring this out. And it certainly varies business to business, the type of writing you want to be on your website, on your social media. Some want it to be really personalized and some don't.
But this is something that, even I am very fascinated and interested in. So, I have my writing that I do that is in the science fiction kind of world, and like multiple versions of one character is like, that's the thing that I go with, right? Like my Adventures of Abernathy Franklin, there are multiple versions of Abernathy Franklin. But this is something that's really interesting. So could I train AI bots to be each version of this character, feed it all the information, and it can help me start spitting out ideas, right, for the different. And maybe let's get into my sort of consciousness wooey woo for fun, if you will, with me. Let's do it. So like make this parallel with me a little bit. This is a fun idea to me right now. So one of the other things that I kind of do, and that I'm sure a lot of other people engage in to some degree, you sort of build those characters, avatars, AI bots, if you will, that are kind of your team that you go to talk to when you have a challenge, when you're trying to figure something out, right? Like, what's this version of me I can bring in who might have more insight about this issue I have, or this challenge I'm facing, or this thing I'm trying to figure out? What if you could do that for yourself? Like, okay, all this team that I have in my head that I'm like asking for this help, create an AI bot and like have an actual little board meeting with all of my people, right? That have that can give that input. Like, how would you? Because in my mind, I'm thinking now, like, blend this with a self-help in a way that is fun and entertaining. Can you make a game out of how do I help myself with all these various characters that I have in my head?
I love it. All of my separate selves together as one.
Right? Like, bring this stuff together and let's try to be a little bit more harmonious if we could.
And that's so funny, because I never actually thought of using it for like personal reasons. Well, I'll tell you, like, I asked one of them to be like a book influencer from the Midwest between the ages of like 20 and 30. And then it started giving me like a lot of corn emojis and like talking
Yep.
Midwestern speak. And it was so funny to me, like all of the stereotypes that AI will give you. And that's something they warn you about, right?
Right.
But if you're looking for a team of your separate selves to meet
To
up,
have a board meeting. Like, here's
have
all
a board
these,
meeting.
right?
Don't
Chat
expect
GPT.
them, don't expect them to be like too serious. But I think I trained a lot of
Well,
my
listen, that's part of the problem when they're inside my head is that they get too serious, right? Like, get them
right.
out into a chat bot that's a little less serious, detach that from some of the human conditioning I have, and maybe some of this might make more sense.
I love this. I feel like we need to try it and then reconvene
I
and figure
I
out.
feel like we need to. This is an experiment in the making, and I am thrilled about it. Like, we're going to have to figure out how to incorporate you into some of the other fun little things that I've been doing. How can we turn this into a
Please.
study?
Oh my
This is
gosh.
there's
Well,
some there's something percolating here. I don't know what it is yet, but I was so just excited about it because it's one of those. Now I get it. Now I know why we met. Now I
uh-huh. So is this my
very good.
official invite into the Tongerverse?
This is
it?
your
Is it
official
happening?
invite into the Tongerverse. Lindsay, welcome, Tongerian Fam. And you're here to help us fit. Listen, I'm just so happy that you went and pulled that out. I was about to say it, but then I was like, nope, maybe she hasn't watched my other podcast. She's going to think
No.
I'm nutso bongo and has no idea what I'm talking about. Even more confirmation that here you belong in the Tongerian universe, in our Tongerverse. Oh, I'm so excited for this. What silly fun are we going to have with these AI bots? This is brilliant.
I am waiting on my uniform. I will wait for my
I'm
uniform.
waiting on my uniform. Guess what? So long as you have tongs that you can pull out, that's anything you wear is your Tongerverse uniform, sis. You can have whatever you like, and you can help us with some merch for us to design some like the Tonger scrubs and all the silly fun stuff. Oh my lord! Listen, so excited now.
I already have ideas, so
You and me both. Oh, now all we need is for that grant to come in so that we can start this little weird study. We're going to turn our infinite selves into AI bots that can actually contribute to this conversation that I'm trying to have inside my head all day in a more productive and useful sort of way.
Absolutely. We just need that cash first, you know?
Bringing it in from the Tongerverse, just calling it all in. That's how you do. You grab those tongs and you just snag it out of the ether and bring it over here. Oh, I'm so thrilled. This is so good.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I can't wait either. Well, let's tell me more then. Let's keep
Okay.
diving into this.
Dive in.
Let's dive in. Tell me more about how you would put this together and what are the pitfalls that we think we're going to see, because our human brains are trained for that, but what are the magnificent things that will come from that?
Yes. So creating meaning in a meaningless world and also making money. That is our goal here. So you would really be
having so much fun while we do it.
Obviously, of course. We don't take ourselves seriously.
No.
So like, I guess my first point is you'd be so surprised how far in life you can get when you know how to craft a clear, concise, complete sentence with no errors.
Mm-hmm.
You're really surprised. Not everyone can do that. And so when you combine that skill with the affinity for storytelling, you really have a powerful voice. And so you have to figure out where you're going to funnel it. So with writing in the humanities, it's either online or in print, on Canvas, virtual or IRL, right? So
and that's like, here's my whole thing with that is that I feel like they both belong, right? There's no reason they can't merge together. The brick and mortar and online store sort of situation. They have both of them. It's an inclusive Tongerverse. We want to have all of it, don't we?
Many moods, many environments.
Yes, 100%.
Yes. And so, how you can harness this voice that you have and direct it to environments where you can grow, right? Like we were saying. So I'll go through. So the editing for print that I did, it was for a broadsheet. That was like arts and entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked with a lot of writers, creative directors, and the publisher. And this is where you kind of have to advocate for the voice of the writers. If you're an editor, you have to let their voice shine. And so you really need a backbone when you're an editor, because you're going to have to edit their stuff. And then they're going to come back at you and say, why did you edit my stuff?
Well, it's that Erica Badu thing. I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. Right. So be nice about it,
Exactly. And you have to, like, you can't just dictate with a red pen and be done with it. You have to really be careful
Right.
about how you edit other people's work. And
it's interesting as a writer how I'm actually really terrible at that, because my brain switches over to like the English like that English mode, the classroom grading the paper mode, and I'm like, that's not useful. It isn't, because it's not useful to you in your writing. Why do you do that? I don't know. Again, human conditioning. Let's set up a nice little AI chat that I can have with all my bots of my people. And why do I do that? Right.
Well, but part of what's great about having an editor as a writer is that you get to have someone be a filter, right, for your ideas. And I mean, that's great to have. And so it's a really important job. But, in where I was at, it was, the writers turned in their work to me often after deadline. And so I would cut it for length, I would change the title, and then it would go to print. And then they would come back at me and say, why did you do that? And this is the answer that I relied on a lot. I said, well, if you would have gotten this to me before deadline, I could have had the time to correspond with you and wait for your revision. But since you didn't, you got it to me late, this is what we're done with.
We had to roll with it.
I had to roll with it. And generally they were like, okay, that's fair. Like they understood that if you're late. Well,
and it's like, I was just saying this to my friend Lonnie Ray, who I think you need to meet as well. I got all these people I got to hook you up with now.
Yes.
But that is something that I do say. There's such a thing as good enough in this world also. Sometimes you do just need to let go and let it be out there. And I mean, listen, I have like my first 10 episodes of Abernathy Franklin self-published on Amazon. And guess what? I know there's still typos and things in there that you might need. A professional could probably look at and fix. But again, there's such a thing as good enough. Put it out there, and the polishing will happen on its own if it's meant to.
100%. And that's the thing we all have to learn, right? Is not taking things personally as a creator, and then knowing when to just leave it alone and move on. 100%.
And that's part of the not taking it so seriously, isn't it? Because that's what makes us the perfectionists, that we're so busy with it has to look just exactly the right way. And then you start kind of missing sometimes the new ideas that might be filtering in if you're so focused on that one thing that has to be just right before it's done.
And even the phenomenon of living when we do is that people forget very quickly about things that they see. So like, unless you're writing this huge masterpiece and it's, the work of your life, like chances are once you move to your next piece, everyone has moved on to, so you can't beat yourself up about it.
No, and that's true. And it's all part, again, just that evolutionary process. Yes. And there's also something to be said, I think, for keeping, I don't know if you want to call them mistakes necessarily, but the things that are not picture perfect or what have you. Sometimes those are the nice little bits that remind you that, hey, that's a human too. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being able to say, like, look at this person put out this project, this person did this thing, and they were able to just let it go, even though it wasn't exactly this, that, or the other, the, again, idealistic image that might be in people's minds, but they still did it,
right?
And be that example to someone of like just going and doing it, because you never know what person is going to go try some new thing because you did, and maybe they'll be like amazing at it and change the world, and if you hadn't planted the seed first, they wouldn't have done it.
Exactly. And that's why we all do anything, right? Is to give our gifts and let the world continue on, so right. Yeah, I love it.
Oh, I do love, no, this is going to be so much fun. So do tell me more about this though. Sorry. And I know I went off on a tangent. I'm just so excited now for you to be a part of the Tongerverse. We're just going to have so much fun with, I don't know what silliness we're going to put together. It's going to be great.
I love it. I can't wait. Okay. So we did the editing for print. So then I did, sorry, I keep shaking.
Don't worry about it. Because the whole Tongerverse is just shaken with excitement that you have joined. See, you belong. Absolutely. This is perfect.
Incredible. Okay. So many ideas. Okay. Structured thinking. Okay. Corporate communications. So I did this as my internship, and this is where you are the voice of the business. So you go out and it was at Children's Hospital where I interned in the corporate communications. So I went and interviewed doctors, nurses, surgical teams, board members, anyone for the newsletter every month. And so I would write the newsletter, and got to talk to so many smart, interesting, kind-giving souls. And it was so fun. Even patients, I got to craft some patient stories, which were heartbreaking and so inspiring at the same time.
Right. I mean, seeing the resilience of people who go through those things, right?
Exactly.
I definitely a benefit to putting that kind of a story out there. I am definitely someone that I approve of the idea of like, yes, this story looks tragic or difficult or sad or whatever it is at the outset, but here's how you can turn this into a nugget of gold, right?
Totally.
There's always a way to do it.
There is. And then there's always going to be people who know what you're going through. And even if you don't get that gold, you know that people have been here in your shoes, and you're not alone. And I think that's why people put a lot of emphasis and resources towards corporate communication departments, especially if you're in like a nonprofit or a health sector, is because they want you to tell these stories, and not just as brand awareness, but as like a humankind awareness. So they're big shoes to fill if you go into this position, because you do kind of have to take this seriously.
Well, but when you have that personality where you're not geared towards that, sometimes a little bit of that fun and levity is what you need to inject in those situations so that you can find the way to turn it into something inspirational, right?
Totally.
So you were the perfect person for that position. So yay for you for following the universe there.
Yeah. And it was really cool, the PR side too, seeing how they talked to the patients and families, how they talked to the partners. I was way too shy to be one of those people to like work the room. I could never. So
don't worry. See, that's where we would be a good team. I will work the room 100%. Like that's what I do. I just run around, I bounce around like a pinball. Here we go.
Oh, I can tell, just like zooming.
Yep, that's me. That's the role that I play in this ecosystem, and I'm perfectly happy to do it.
And we need you. Thank you.
And we need you as well. See, it's beautiful. I love it when a plan comes together.
Yes, we all do. Yes. So, the voice of a business, that's what I did. And it was when you do that though, make sure you work for a business that you align with, idealistically, otherwise it'll beat you down pretty hard, quickly, if you're the voice of a company you don't agree with, right?
That's, again, with that human conditioning that says you got to pay the bills above all else. And then you end up in these situations that are not aligned to you. And okay, well, now how do I go find the situation that is aligned is the question that you got to ask yourself. And it's,
yep.
I'm finding myself, I see the alignments of where I am, but then I also see where the misalignments are, and it's one of those. Okay, what's next? How do we shift this into the right space?
Music promotions, yes. Okay.
Tell me about it. Tie it together. Put this together in a nice little box and put a little bow on it for me.
Oh my gosh, I would love to.
Because I know you can.
Yeah. So I got this job because I posted on Instagram all the live shows I would go to. It was just an innate interest I had, was to go see music. And that's what I put on my social media. And so someone showed up in my DMs saying, hey, I have a music promotions group here in town and I want you to be a part of it. That's all I had. Like, I was just being myself and they came to me, right?
And that's exactly how it's supposed to. That's the best way for it to work, I guess I should say. Right.
Yes.
That's when you're on. That's the highest timeline level of yourself, when the right things come to you, right? That's
correct.
I'm glad that you and I have hooked up, because it means that I am on the right timeline. Look at this.
I really do think so. Yeah. Good
I do
timing.
so very much enjoy it when these little synchronicities or these things come up that I'm like, oh yeah, hey,
Mhm.
energetic alignment right here. Fantastic, marvelous. Let's move on. But this is
Lock it
what
in, lock it down. Yeah.
pinball machine again, where I need somebody to wrangle things just a little bit for me because I will, like I was just saying to my friend Lonnie just earlier, I am the Mogwai. If you get me wet, give me food, and or get me light after midnight, I will burst out into all these different gremlins that are just gonna go wild.
Oh my
So
God, that sounds terrifying. Are you okay?
it is terrifying. I'm hanging in there the best I can, but I need a babysitter.
You need a lasso to go with those tongs.
That's it. No, this is exactly right. Tongs in one hand, lasso in the other. Like, let's get these gremlins and let's turn it into some gold here, people. I know that we can do it. There's a way.
Oh my gosh, I'm cracking up. Okay. So be yourself, right? That's the point of that. Be yourself,
Yes.
put into the world the kind of work you want to do. So they contacted me, and this is where I got to be the voice of the community. So I would interview musicians, artists, venues. Well, I would work with venues and booking agents, and we would put shows together with all of our favorite local musicians, and we would publish articles about all my favorite local musicians. And then when we would hold festivals in town, I would go into the green rooms and interview those big artists. So it was a dream come true, and it
I
was
love
based
that for
off.
you.
Yes, and because I am not a great like musician, but I think I have a good ear. And so I was able to curate and pull out some really great music that people were interested in. It wasn't just the big pop bands.
Guess what? We're gonna have some. I don't know how this is gonna tie in, but in the Tongerverse, music is a big thing too. So
Ooh,
we're gonna have some silly fun times with the parodies that I want us to be writing because
so
those are fun for
mhm.
me.
I've seen those come across my feed, and I have wanted to jump in, and I was like, it's too
Jump
soon.
in!
I'm
No,
not part of it yet. I'm
you
not part of it yet.
jump right in. Again, inclusive Tongerverse. We're not trying to keep anybody out. Come in, participate,
Okay.
comment, do all. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Don't be intimidated. We want you here.
Okay, I'm so shy, but now that I know I'm in,
It's not too soon.
confident.
There's no reason to be shy. 100% confidence. You belong here. No questions. You are infinitely correctimus that you belong here. So
Oh my gosh, that's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear.
here we are, new friend Lindsay. I love it. It's just so much, so perfect. This is so great.
Yes. So, yeah, you have to come in with a reputation if you're going to be doing promotions, because you ask people to work for you and they either say yes or no or work with you, right? So
Right.
you're like, hey, Sloss Fest, I want to interview your artists. They're like, okay, send me links to your work. And then that's where they can say yes or no. So you have to bring in your reputation. You have to have a good one, and you have to make people want to work with you, because their reputation is also on the line. So anytime you interview anybody, you have to make sure that you do it fair and you do them justice to their work. And so you have to be very careful there. But
See,
music
and that's
promotions, so
well,
good.
and that's the thing that, so like the other pods, this podcast, usually my brother John's here with me, and that's kind of a thing that we do where we want the folks who are with us to be leading the conversation. We want this to be beneficial to you, right? Like, I'm
Mhm.
super curious about what you do. I want to learn about what you do. I love your story, but I also want you to be able to showcase this for yourself, right?
Yes.
And
Mhm.
that's such a it's again, that's the energy that I want to come from, right? There's room for all of us to thrive. There's room for all of us to do well. There's room for all of us to have fun.
Yes.
And so wanting to build that space where you get to come in and showcase and be your best self, and
Mhm.
we want to be that space for you to be able to showcase and be your best self.
Exactly. Give a stage so that they can
Yes.
shine.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Totally. So yeah, that's what promotions is all about. And where I was, there wasn't much money in it all. There were benefits and perks like free tickets and stuff like that. So it was a labor of love that eventually I just had to move on from. So what I did next was instructional design, and that was just kind of a 180. It was pretty technical. You would work
Mm-hmm.
in softwares where it's basically there was a design element, but it was more of a drag and drop. And you had to kind of be
It's
the
a more
voice.
rigid sort of space when you're in the
Yes,
instructional
yes.
currently it is, but don't worry, we'll get it in the Tongerverse and make it more fun, and we'll spit it back
That's
out a little.
actually
A
Very
little bit
fertile
more,
ground.
yes,
Yeah.
a little bit more glittery and Lisa Frank is what we're going to spit it back out as.
Oh, okay. All right. You got to be a little sophisticated, a little less glitter from time to time.
Oh no, we want the glitter. Add all the
Oh, I thought
glitter.
you said less glitter.
No, we want to spit out the glitter. All the
Oh, like, got it. Projectile glitter. Yeah.
projectile glitter tonger is my new favorite tonger, and that's how we're actually going to fix all the garbage in New York City. I can't.
Is that a current problem you're working
But
on?
yes, that is one of the things that the Tongerverse has been has solutions for. Many of them coming out. I love this. This is projectile glitter tonger.
Wow, I can't believe I'm contributing already. This is
You're
amazing.
contributing already. You're just the magic of the Tongerverse, that things come together so very perfectly. It's just beautimous. I'm so very thrilled for you to be coming in here and playing with us.
Yeah, so if I were the instructional designer for the Tongerverse, I would come in my software.
Since you are the instructional designer for the Tongerverse, now that we have gotten the many grants that are funding all of the wonderful people who have joined us.
Yes. And then so I would, drag and drop icons. I would time it animation wise. I would be the voice of the teacher and quiz you at the end, right? That's the whole idea. It's a virtual teaching position where there are no students, which appealed to me as an English major, right? So I thought it was like great fun. You get to talk to a lot of subject matter experts within the company.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. You get to learn new things all the time.
Yeah.
So if you like the idea of like working off a checklist and having it be like true versus false, a teaching environment, instructional design is actually, there are lots of jobs for it and there are lots of degrees for it and certifications. So I mean, it was exciting. It was exciting for me and I wish I could have kept doing it. But then I found my e-commerce job. And I switched there because it was just something different. I just wanted something different.
Because again, variety is the spice of life, and sometimes you just need to shift a little bit. It's just time.
When you master one thing, just kidding.
Well, no, and I was just having this conversation with someone else the other day. The master of all trades, jack of none, is better than a master of one, and that's not the way that. Usually they cut that last part out, jack of all trades, master of none, and it's supposed to be something that it's like a negative, like you just go flit around to too many things.
Yeah.
No, it's better than being a master of one thing because you have multiple things that you can draw from. It's one thing to be specialized and really good at one thing, and it's good to have those people as a part of your community who are very specialized, but it's also good to have multiple different, pools of knowledge or skill sets to be able to draw from.
And learn from too. Yeah.
Right. Again, our AI bots that are going to, be our little board meeting members that we can set up. This is a whole app that we're going to make in the Tongerverse. Like, do you need to have a board meeting with your infinite selves? We'll help you create these AI bots so that you can set up a nice little meeting with all the various components of your personality, and you'll figure this stuff out together.
Yeah, you could call roll every time you bring it up, make sure they're all in attendance.
Right. It's like your own sort of self-help therapy that you get to do with all the different facets of yourself.
Exactly.
We can revolutionize the mental health care industry. I am so ready for us to do this. Big props to us already.
Knew? Yeah.
Who knew? Somehow, some way we knew. Otherwise, we wouldn't have connected. I just am so very thrilled about this.
Anyway, robots can help. They can, and we'll make them do it.
It's the co-creation thing, right? Like bring it together and turn it into something that is a beautimous thing we can all use to our benefit, to benefit our happiness.
Exactly.
I think it can be done.
And despite the answers that it gives you, it's really the questions that matter the most,
Well, no, but it is. You have to. I do kind of love that about AI. There's a little bit to me. The evolution of AI is sort of. I think I've talked to my brother about it. It's kind of like. I don't want to say parenting. I'm not a parent. I don't have I have younger siblings, and that is the best that I can speak to for any of it. But it is a little bit like having to teach a child, right? This fear that we have of AI and this fear that we have of the things AI could potentially become that are in the sort of negative space, right? Well, they're going to learn from us, whatever. We are inputting all the information into these machine learning systems. If they're going to learn to be Terminator, they're going to get that from humans. That's where it's going to come from.
Exactly.
So, that's go for it. Yeah. No, this is just a conversation I love.
No, me too, because especially when you're talking about it's like raising a kid, because the amount of times you have to remind it of its prompt is so funny to me, because it'll start veering off and it's like, no, 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 this
Bring it
isn't
back.
what I told you to do, right? Like you
Right.
have to bring it back, So it's exactly like that.
It's yeah.
AI is exactly like raising a child. Yeah.
Or training a dog, or training your mind through meditation or whatever you do, to be like, no, we don't think those old programming thoughts that are not useful anymore. We're switching over to the new software program. Like it all kind of integrates
Exactly.
together, right?
Yes. Yes. And yeah, you have to just go for the next update all the time. And
Because you can't, because getting stuck in the mud doesn't do anybody any good, right? You got to keep on moving and evolving, because that's another thing too with like the AI development that's happening for me right now that I think is really exciting, that it is developing and advancing too fast for us to be able to regulate it. And I know that that's like, again, a complaint that people have, or something that is looked at as being an issue. And I'm like, no, that's a good thing. It means that we can't overthink it too much to like destroy it and do the things that we do, where we overimpose our human conditioning on it to the point that it cannot be a creative, expansive thing anymore. So
right.
like the fact that it's moving so fast, like I think is like, no, it's a good thing, because then we can't bog it down with the things that it shouldn't be bogged down with. It's a good thing that this is shifting so quickly.
Exactly. And that's what we experienced on the AI task force, is that we figured out, okay, it can do language kind of. It can write press releases, but where is the real value for a business? And it was really what we all kind of figured out, this like it's like Excel, the program.
Mm-hmm.
You can really use it, like I said, to auto-populate thousands of boxes at once. Like that's where the real power of AI is coming from right now in an office environment.
This is a thing that I love, because I think of it like, okay, guys, this is the dishwasher scenario. It takes like load the dishwasher, let it wash the dishes for you kind of thing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's where you can really use AI to really help you. And I love that. So that's why I love this whole thing you're talking about, like all these different elements that you can use to, that's kind of the point, right? Like eliminating the task work element of
Right.
it so that you can focus more on what humans do, which is that human creative
Exactly.
element, right?
Exactly. It's like, so we moved from calculators to computers to Excel, and AI is like just the next thing.
Yes,
And we're
that is
focusing
the
a lot on the
perspective.
language. Yeah, we're focusing so much on the language right now that we're kind of missing all of the other things that it can do, because it's moved so fast,
Yes.
right? And
It's a little bit, what is that? Is it, oh, not a Brahma, the ancient Vedas. If you name me, you negate me, right?
oh,
The
I
second that
love
you
it.
give something a label, you eliminate all of the other things and the possibilities it could be, because you've put it under this label, right?
Yes. You
So
can't measure a dune, right? It's always changing. Yeah,
yes, yes.
totally. And that's, so the scary part is, where has it moved? Like whose hands is it in now that we can't see? Who is taking it to extremes that maybe we don't know about yet?
Well,
That's what's
listen,
scary for me.
that's the whole point of the Tongerverse, though, is that we create far too much fun with all of these different things. We draw in all those elements into the fun Tongerverse, and
Mm.
those things that are less than desirable, shall we say, the fear elements, those just dissolve and fall away because we're too much fun for them to hang out with us.
Oh my
The
gosh.
thing that I just saw recently that I really like for an analogy is it was this like nature video, and it was like, only crows are brave enough to peck at eagles, but eagles don't pay attention to those crows, even though they're only ones that can peck at them. They just keep rising. Eventually they get so high in altitude that crows can't handle that lack of oxygen that's higher up and have to leave them alone. That's
That's
what it is.
incredible.
You go high
Wow.
enough up and they like that negative stuff doesn't have enough oxygen to continue. You just got to keep on that rising level with the Eagles.
Oh my gosh. What
And
an
I'm a
amazing
big fan of the Eagles Hotel California. Let's put that into the, that's got to be a parody. I don't know how we're going to rock that one, but Hotel Tongafornia. We're going to make that a thing. I'm so ready.
I am so ready. That is, wow. I love it. It's great up here. So up high with
It's
Haleigh.
great up here. We're having a great time up on our y'all want to join us on our level. I know you do, because we're just having party time all day.
Woo! I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So after e-commerce, I did copywriting. I've touched on that a little bit with the AI being replaced. But one thing and this is a very important lesson if you're going to get into design or copywriting, is that the two usually go together in today's world, right?
Yeah.
If maybe you write paragraphs for, really business heavy content, and that's fine. But if you're writing like blurbs or ads or landing page creative, you have to have the design and the words go together. And where I was, it was the words came first, then they were put on design, and then it was approved. And I never really got to see it after it was designed, or had much ability to edit it afterwards, because it was like a quick, fast, let's get it out. So
Maybe
wouldn't
didn't get
great,
to play with it as much as you would have liked to.
exactly. And artists know that words appear differently based on how they're arranged on the page. It makes all the difference in the world.
Yes.
Trying to explain that to my team was a feat. And the designers, one of them was good with words, but the other one was just not. And so it was a big back and forth. So wouldn't it be great if you could do both? Wouldn't it be great if when you go to school for writing, you also took design classes? Because I wish I had done that. Like, everyone can write a sentence and think it's good enough to put out there, but not everyone knows how to work Photoshop. So that's where it ends. Designers rule the world right now. They really do, in marketing departments, etc. So if you have a command of both, you're going to be unstoppable. And that's a really big lesson that I ended up learning. And even if you don't know how to do it, if you're just the one copywriter on the team, figure out like what their process is, how back and forth or how collaborative it's going to be. Because if you're putting time into all these words and once they make it to the design, it just doesn't translate, it's not satisfactory as an artist, right? It's like, that's not what I wanted to do.
Well, because
with that message.
Right. And there is a balance to be had there, right? Between there's such a thing as good enough, and is this authentically the message that I really wanted to put out? Is this the frequency that I was trying to communicate? And it's not always the case, right?
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of that sort of revisionist, back to the drawing board kind of. Back to my board members, man, I tell you what, this AI thing this app that we're already creating for the Tongerverse has just got so many uses already.
The feature list is endless. Yeah.
It's just unlimited, 100%. You are correctimus.
Oh my gosh. All this new vocabulary I'm going to have to learn.
I know. And you're going to have to help us put together the Tongerian that we're putting together of all the
stuff.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to create a table of contents, like an index. Let me do that for you, please.
This is what we are working on. But again, Tongerverse, all we need now is the funding, because we got to hire Lindsay. And I tell you what, there's so many people I keep meeting that I'm like, this person could do this and this person could bring it all together. All we need is just the funding, because we need to pay the stupid bills that just drive us all insane. There's a way. I don't know. Listen, it's already put together somehow. We will just be patient in the present Tonger and let it come to us. There we go.
I feel relaxed already. That was great.
Right? See, it's our we'll have a whole meditation app that we can add to it with our AI. We'll train our AI bot characters to do various meditations in their flavor style, and we can just have our own meditation app that the AI bots are like creating for. I'm so glad we met you. Look at you. I have been asking the Tongerverse to deliver some ease into my experience. And here you are, making things easy peasy for us to just put it all together and then sit back and watch it just continue to grow and expand in beautimous ways.
That's why I'm here.
That is why you're here. This is just so fantastically perfect.
Yes.
I love it.
All
Sorry,
right.
I interrupted you again. Keep going.
No. So, well, I'm just moving on to the last job I've had, my current one, SEO.
SEO.
And so that's where you have your Google voice, right? That's where you get Google to tell you if your sentences are too complex, or there's so many different rules. And depending on the platform you use for your content, it will either tell you exactly what to fix, or you just kind of have to guess. So there are new platforms coming out all the time. The one I'm working in now is called WooCommerce, and it will give you it will say your SEO content is a red frowny face and you need to make it a green smiley face, and it will give you different bullet points that you have to work on. And I will tell you, once you get that red frowny to become a green smiley, it is like so
like
motivating and like a hit of dopamine. Yeah.
Cue the choir of angels, right? Just
Yeah.
oh, perfect. There it is.
Absolutely. And so of course, my boss was like, so just use ChatGPT. And I'm like, okay. So I, built my personality, my SEO writer, gave it some brand voice messaging, et cetera, et cetera.
Listen, I'm kind of glad that we grabbed you before some big corporate, somebody else realized what a diamond of a person you are with all this AI now. I mean, seriously, this is just amazing to me what you're putting together. And I'm so excited about this.
Oh
like,
my
look at
God.
how you are just creating the AI dishwashers that will, take care of all the things that we don't want to take care of. And then we can all hang out together on the beach in Tahiti or wherever.
Oh my God.
Drinking some tasty drinks and just checking out the ocean again, right? So that you got to get all that stuff handled in the digital world so that in IRL we can enjoy and relax.
Yes. I love it. You love it. Separate work from pleasure, right?
Well, you know what? Or blend them in a way where the work doesn't, like, work is a dirty word to me 100%. Like, can we just make it all fun and pleasurable and just take the work element out of it somehow? There's got to be a way, well, we're well on our way. We are on that yellow brick road together.
You are my shepherd, Haleigh.
No,
you're my shepherd.
Just too sweet. No. That's actually kind of funny. I have a silly little short story that I put on LinkedIn about how I came into a bunch of money and started being a shepherd in Scotland of a bunch of Hebridean sheep. So look at it. And I just the other day accidentally met someone else who's coming on the podcast, and her thing is that she freelance travels the world shearing sheep, which was like, what? I need to know more about this. This is amazing.
How do you get into that?
I'm going to find out, and she's going to become one of our AI bots somehow too, just because I need to have somebody who talks to me about shearing sheep around the world. It's amazing.
Especially in Scotland.
Yeah, right? Like Edinburgh has one of the biggest yarn festivals in the world, and it's on my bucket list to go. So
wow.
Throwing that out there into the Tongerverse to see where it comes back. Let's me and Lindsay go to Scotland and go to the yarn festival. We can watch our friend Tirza shear some sheep. And, we'll bring Tonger Man along too, because, we're going to have to Tonger bomb the whole Edinburgh Yarn Festival because all them yarny people are going to love to play Tonger. We're going to have the best time. I'm already excited about it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have a great book about Scotland, and my last name is Scottish. So I feel like we would be singing the song of my people.
I love it. Singing the song of your people. How brilliant. And I was just talking to someone else from Scotland that's in the advertising world just the other day, and was saying, there's this thing in Top Gear. I was a fan of BBC's Top Gear for a while.
Yeah. Oh, I've watched it.
Yeah, and they had that thing where they were given like the big invention from whatever country, and each country they were listing had like one invention, and then they went to Scotland, and it was just this page full of lists.
Really?
Of Scottish people have invented. So you come from a long line of inventors. It is, it is appropriate that you are going to be inventing this AI situation, these bots for the Tongerverse, because you are Scottish. And oh my, you know what? Maybe you're just somebody that I've been looking for a while in a different sort of form than I anticipated. And that is super, very fun for me. I accept that, Tongerverse. I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it too.
I'm thrilled about it. More than fine with it. I couldn't be more pleased.
This is incredible. So let me ask you, I know when we first started talking, I was like, okay, I really love interviewing and I want to be on podcasts, but I have to work on my vocal fry. How has my vocal fry been in this episode?
I think you've been I would never have known that you have not done this kind of work. I would just assume that you're so comfortable and natural with it. Like, don't overthink it and don't change anything. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like, listen, we'll bring you on for more episodes. You're going to have to join us. You've seen all my podcast nonsense.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're now one of these people that I'm just going to rope in, and you just have to be on all of my podcasts, and you're just coming in. I love it when I find a new friend that I want to bring along on this train ride.
Yes.
So excited. Oh, and when we leave the station, it's just going to be the most wonderful, beautimous thing. I'm just this is just so great. Okay. I do want to be respectful of your time. I can't believe an hour has gone by. This has just been the most magical thing that
my gosh.
right?
Yes.
We're just meant to be besties.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, Bessie. I'm just so glad we met. Okay, so if people do want to come find you though and check out, your socials and whatever else you're doing, where should people come and check you out? I will share out links for the episode, your LinkedIn and all that, but where else should people go looking for you?
I mean, I keep my social media pretty private, but I would love for everyone to go to the website I'm currently working on, which is magiccityorganics.com.
Of course, magic is in the title because that's what exactly this has been. A synchronicity abound. I love it.
Well, when you talk to anyone from Birmingham, Alabama, we are the Magic City.
I'm sorry, Tongabama is what
Tongabama, is that a thing?
Yes, it is. You're from Tongabama.
I love it. Absolutely, Tongabama. So magiccityorganics.com. It is a woman-owned, locally curated CBD and hemp shop, and we deliver locally and ship nationally. So I'm working my butt off trying to get that SEO in work. So just go straight to the website and tell me all the things that I'm doing right and wrong, and I will fix them just for you.
Oh, you're doing everything absolutely correctimously, or you wouldn't have run into me. So don't even worry about it. You, like Sage the intern, you are an effortless god, and many applause to you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Perfect. I love it. Lindsay McDuffie, my new bestie and the newest member of our Tongerian family. I am so absolutely delighted that you could join us. Thank you so much for coming in to this.
Thank you.
I can't wait to have you back and all up in all the things we're doing. This we're creating magic already. I'm just so very happy about it.
Yes, me too, Haleigh. You're amazing. Thank you so much for all of this.
Thank you. I love ending with a love bomb. You and again, we were just meant to be friends. Ending with a love bomb is on brand for me. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Hi again, friends. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the No Small Stories podcast. Do check out the links below in the description so you can find more information on this episode's guest. And if you'd like to support more episodes of the No Small Stories podcast, you can become a patron. Find us on patreon.com/No Small Stories. Do also follow us on Instagram at No Small Stories Podcast. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a review, do all those wonderful things that you awesome listeners can do. Until next time, friends, remember, no matter how small you start, your story is always a big deal to us. Special thanks to the Parapost Network for the support of their community. Check out all the great podcasts on the Parapost Network on Facebook.